Welcome to Appointment, the podcast dedicated to spreading the word about direct primary care. My name is Jonathan Christopher, and let's get started. Welcome back to Appointment. Today, we are continuing our discussion with Dr. Paul Thomas of Plum Health DPC in Detroit, Michigan. Anyone that knows Dr. Thomas understands his commitment to DPC and his patients. In this segment, he shares with us some of the recent events that he has been invited to speak, as well as Ikigai and finding your reason for being as a primary care provider. Let's check it out. Most recently, you went to Washington. Tell me about that. What was that trip about?
Yeah, so that was absolutely insane. What had happened was 2 days after I published the book, I got an email from White House liaison with the Health and Human Services Department. And it just plainly said, we'd like to invite you to the White House for, like a Christmas event, and you can bring a guest, and we'll see you on Sunday at 7 p.m. And that was on Monday at, 5:45 p.m. I got this email. Mm-hmm. So then, in less than 7 days, I had to, buy the flight, book the hotel, and get out there. But it was just this tremendous opportunity to see the White House. I've never been inside the White House. I've never seen kind of the history, the paintings, kind of the pageantry of the place. It was just a really wonderful experience, and I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to go. I felt like so American. I know this is cliche, but there's just something special about the history of the White House and the presidents that makes you feel like an American.
Sure. I've had several opportunities to go to DC myself, and most of those were when I was a child. Or teen in the 90s. And it was interesting for me because I look at before 9/11 and after. Before 9/11, literally, I was, you just walk into Congress, through wherever and, say, hey, Congressman, how you doing? And just, and then afterwards, when I went in like 2003 or 4, it was a lot different. But DC, is a great town. Were your discussions productive?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to get out there. Basically, they invited some other healthcare thought leaders, and as you're passing through, you have the opportunity to, engage with some folks. And it was a nice event, a good evening, and happy to have gone and experienced that.
Excellent. I'm going to make a prediction that in time, a direct primary care will become the de facto care. It'll probably even drop direct and just call it the standard form of primary care, and how medicine should be practiced with patients and physicians directly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bold prediction.
I think so. I'm going for it.
I think a lot of people are still tied to this idea of, I've already paid for insurance. Right. Why should I pay over and above for primary care services? Shouldn't that be included in my insurance plan? And the answer is yes, you do have primary care options through your insurance plan, but because it's a third-party payer, the service is going to be clunky. You're going to wait 24 days on average for that primary care appointment. You're going to wait 30 minutes to an hour in the waiting room, and you're only going to get 10 minutes with your primary care physician. And then they're going to refer you to somebody else because they don't have time to actually address your concerns. So then you're going to wait 3 months to see the dermatologist or 2 months to see the cardiologist. And it just becomes a mess. So
yeah,
I would love to see everyone go direct primary care, but I know that people are still holding on to that idea that insurance covers everything.
True. I'm actually trying to convince my mom to go that route, and she's from the previous generation, so it's a long conversation. But
totally,
it's coming along. Hopefully I can get her to listen to the podcast, and she'll say, oh, if Dr. Paul Thomas and Chad Savage and the likes talk about it, then I got to go for it.
That's awesome, man.
Well, you like we said, you do a lot of traveling. Where else have you gone recently, and what have you been covering?
Yeah, the most recent thing was there's a Docs for Patient Care Foundation in Florida run by Dr. Lee S. Gross, and they have an annual conference called DPC Nuts and Bolts, and this was the third one. So it was, DPC Nuts and Bolts 3.0. Mm-hmm. And I was really fortunate to be asked to be the lead-off speaker. And the topic of my presentation or my talk was, becoming the doctor that you were meant to be, right? I think that a lot of doctors feel this way. They become a physician and they only have so much time with their patients, and they feel handcuffed by these insurance companies, the regulations, the restrictions. And in the direct primary care model, you have the time and the space and the energy to be the doctor that you're meant to be, and really spend time with your patients and develop those trusting relationships and deliver a lot of value for people's healthcare dollar. And so that was the focus of my talk.
Mm-hmm.
I brought in this idea of Ikigai, which is a Japanese term for your reason for being, and tying that into the physician model. Maybe you could include the image of this in the show notes, but It's overlapping circles about what you can be paid for, what the world needs, what you're good at, and what you love to do. And a lot of doctors fall into the bottom three rings. They're good at what they do. The world needs it. They can be paid for it. But you're left with these feelings of emptiness because you don't love what you do. And in direct primary care, you can love what you do as a physician. So that concept of Ikigai really resonated with my audience, mostly physicians in the audience. About 400 participants, attendees were there. So it was really an exciting moment for me. And I love speaking and I love getting in front of the audience. Mm-hmm. And this was like a nice thing to do for me.
So can you tell me a little bit about what you did when you started off your practice, or what you're continuing to do with your practice with regards to marketing and getting the word out about your practice in your local area?
Oh, totally. I think one thing that doctors need to know who are starting this sort of practice is that it's crucial that they have a really strong marketing strategy. And rule number one, content is king. So my focus is on creating content, if it's a blog post or social media posts or YouTube videos, and then circulating those pieces of content across my social media platforms. And then using that as leverage to show impact and effectiveness to leverage traditional media. So, what that looks like is, doing a speaking engagement in the community, getting photos and videos of that, writing a blog post, and then sharing that across a social platform. And then, when I do something bigger, like write a book or speak at a conference, I might put out a press release to engage some of those traditional media players to cover what we're doing. And that has really fueled our growth, because I've seen a lot of direct primary care doctors flounder mm-hmm. where they don't have a robust social media presence. So, it's something I've been really intentional mm-hmm. that's allowed me to grow my practice.
And it definitely is visible. You are very visible. I love your snippets that you do, those little 30-second videos that you put out on LinkedIn and YouTube. I, for one, favor YouTube. But those are great because it's very organic mm-hmm. and it's very consumable. And that, to me, is what caught my eye. And one of the main reasons I wanted to speak with you, because I think that, like you said, there is a reluctance for people to really be consistent with, with their content creation. And I just want to congratulate you on that. And I want you to encourage you to keep doing it, because I am watching.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I get that a lot. I think people are really rooting for this idea to succeed. And I love that, you found this valuable. And it's true. Docs have a hard time creating content and getting in front of the camera and putting that information out there. But I think it's crucial for developing an audience and a following and people who are rooting for your success. So, my advice to doctors is, number one, content is king. And number two, document, don't create. So you don't want to really create excellent, like flashy, like really overproduced content. You just want to tell people what you're doing on a daily or weekly basis. So when I go to Washington, I just have my friend take a 30-second video. Hey, I'm in Washington, D.C. I'm outside the White House. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for following my journey, and let me know how I can help you. Something like that. Or I was invited to a Detroit event, and I'm just like, hey, I'm at this Detroit event. We're on the old Tiger Stadium. We're hitting baseballs. We're out here having a good time. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.
Right.
And these are the really simple things that you can do that cost zero money,
right,
and just take a little bit of an intentionality, and then you circulate those things on your social media platforms and you grow that following.
Gary Vee would be proud.
Yeah, man. I love Gary Vee. I'm glad you picked up on that reference. I've read all of his books. I watched some of his YouTube videos, and I just think that, doctors, we should be focusing on the medical side of our profession. But if you are starting a business like a direct primary care practice, you need to read outside resources like Gary Vee or Grant Cardone or, Sheryl Sandberg with Lean In. Like, those kind of books really can help you grow. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. There was a book by the founder of Zappos, Delivering Happiness. Like, these are the kind of resources that really can help doctors grow into this uncomfortable role as a business owner, right?
Do be sure to tune in next time for even more valuable insight by Dr. Paul Thomas on the front line for direct primary care every day. Be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about Ikigai or just to reach out. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to subscribe using your favorite podcast player. I recommend the Amazon Alexa Flash Briefings, Spotify, and if you're a podcast power listener, Overcast, available for iOS and Android. Talk to you later.